Wintervale dawned with a serenity that only the end of November could bring. The town seemed to stand still in time, as if the universe had paused to allow its inhabitants to take a deep breath before the frantic start of the Christmas season. Michael left the house earlier than usual. The frosty air carried a rare purity, and he knew he needed a moment away from all distractions. As he walked along the snow-covered sidewalk, his boots sinking slightly with each step, he looked around. Every detail seemed to beg for attention. The garlands hanging from the doors of the houses, the lights flickering in the windows, and the smell of pine emanating from a nearby store created a scene that could have come out of a movie. However, Michael didn't feel the usual warmth that this time of year usually brought. Something inside him was restless, a feeling that something bigger was about to happen. But he still didn't know what. His every breath created little clouds of steam in the air, as if his confused thoughts were being released. He stopped in front of a square where a group of children were playing snowball fights. For a moment he smiled. It was a rare flash of genuine joy, but the smile soon disappeared. His mind, as always, returned to the problems of the year that was ending. "I still don't know how I got here," he muttered to himself, the sound of his voice almost lost in the silence around him. Michael continued walking, each step seeming heavier as his mind revisited the past months. This wasn't just another year. It was a continuous test of his patience, strength, and faith. He remembered the beginning of the year, when everything seemed promising. Little did he know that fate was about to throw challenges at him that he had never imagined he would face. The announcement of the restructuring in the company was still an echo in his mind. "Thank you for your years of service, Michael," said the human resources manager, with a cold tone that didn't do justice to the impact of those words. He had given everything to that job, only to be discarded like a number on a spreadsheet. Losing his job was more than losing a source of income. It was like losing a part of his identity. And then came his mother's health problem. He clearly remembered the first time he saw her frail in a hospital bed. "Don't worry, darling. This is just a phase," she had said, with a smile that tried to mask the seriousness of the situation. But Michael knew that the battle would be long and difficult, and the uncertainty only increased his anxiety. When summer arrived, he realized that his relationship with Emily, his wife, was being tested. It wasn't a lack of love, but the weight of so many responsibilities and uncertainties created a chasm between them. Conversations turned into arguments, and the quiet moments they once shared now seemed distant. "Why is all this happening at once?" he asked himself, night after night. He began to question his faith, something he had never imagined doing. It seemed that God was silent, and he didn't know if he would have the strength to go on. When he decided to leave home that afternoon of November 30th, Michael didn't have a specific destination in mind. He simply knew that he needed air, space to think, and, perhaps, a sign. Walking along the path that led to the hill to the north of the town, he realized how he had avoided this place in recent years. The path was narrow, winding between tall, snow-covered trees. Each step made a distinctive sound, a soft creak that seemed to echo through the silent forest. The trees, devoid of leaves, stretched their branches towards the sky, as if searching for something beyond human comprehension. Michael looked up and saw the sky open up into a pale blue, with thin clouds that looked as if they had been painted by hand. He remembered how he used to come to that hill when he was younger. Back then, it was a place where he dreamed, where he made plans for the future. Now it felt more like a refuge, a place where he could try to find what he had lost along the way. When he reached the top, he sat down on a familiar rock. The view was as impressive as he remembered. Wintervale lay below, a tapestry of bright lights and cozy houses. But what struck him most was the silence. There, on top of the hill, the world seemed to stop. There were no phones ringing, no notifications flashing, no voices arguing. Just stillness, an invitation for him to look inside himself. Sitting on that rock, Michael began to reflect on the meaning of that day. He couldn't remember the last time he had really stopped to think about what the end of November meant to him. Deep down, he knew that November 30th was more than just a date. It was a transition point, a time to end cycles and begin new ones. He thought about how nature followed its course without hesitation. The trees lost their leaves in the fall, preparing for the dormancy of winter. It wasn't an end, but a new beginning, a cycle that guaranteed the continuity of life. And somehow he knew that his own life had to follow the same logic. If even trees let go of what they don't need, why am I still holding so much weight? He asked himself. Michael began to mentally list what he needed to let go of. The guilt for not being perfect, the doubt about his worth, the constant fear of failure. He realized that he was carrying these burdens like dead leaves attached to branches that were no longer useful. God, he began, his voice trembling. I don't know what comes next, but I trust you to guide me. As Michael sat on the hill, a cool breeze touched his face, as if the universe itself wanted to reassure him. He closed his eyes and allowed the stillness around him to envelop him. It was a rare moment of surrender, something he rarely did. Inside, he felt a weight he had been carrying for a long time begin to dissolve. In the months leading up to that day, Michael had realized that he was obsessed with controlling the uncontrollable. He had made promises to himself, that he would be stronger, that he would never let anyone see his vulnerability, that he would solve everything by himself. But now, sitting in that sacred space, he understood that he didn't have to carry everything alone. The universe, God, the greater force that sustained his life, was always there, waiting for him to surrender his fears and doubts. He remembered a conversation he'd had with his father years ago on the same hill. Sometimes, Michael, you have to open your hands to hold something new, the old man had said, as he gazed at the horizon. At the time, he was too young to understand, but now those words came back with a clear and powerful meaning. I made promises to myself, he muttered, but now I see that all I have to do is trust. He took a deep breath, once, twice, 3 times, each exhalation taking away a little more of the weight he felt. In his mind, he began to surrender each worry, visualizing it blowing away like mist in the wind. The emotional debt he felt for not having gotten there yet, the fear of disappointing his family, the feeling of being trapped in an endless cycle of challenges. All this he offered to God at that moment. After a while, Michael decided to walk down the hill. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. He felt different. He didn't know exactly what had changed, but there was something new, a lightness he hadn't felt for months. As he walked along the path, he heard footsteps behind him. "Michael?" called a familiar male voice. He turned and saw Peter, an old childhood friend he hadn't seen for years. Peter was carrying a small paper bag and seemed as surprised as Michael at the reunion. "Peter, long time no see," replied Michael, with a genuine smile that he almost didn't recognize in himself. The two men stopped in the middle of the trail, exchanging stories about the years that had passed. Peter, who had always been an optimistic soul, told how he had also faced difficulties. He had lost his job at the beginning of the year and had struggled for months to find a purpose. But something led him to start again in voluntary work, helping people in even more difficult situations than his own. It was the moment I stopped trying to solve everything myself that things started to change, Peter said, looking directly into Michael's eyes. These words echoed in Michael's heart, as if they were a confirmation of what he had just experienced. They talked until the cold forced them to go down together. Before they parted, Peter handed Michael a small card. "If you ever need to talk or just need a place to feel good, come here," said Peter. Michael put the card in his coat pocket without looking at it, thanked him, and said goodbye. He felt that this encounter had not been a coincidence. On his way home, Michael sat in his favorite armchair, Peter's card still in his pocket. He picked it up and saw that it was the address of a small spiritual support group that met on Friday evenings. For a moment, he hesitated. Taking part in something like this was not something he would normally do. But at the same time, there was a growing curiosity inside him. He spent the rest of the evening reflecting. The sense of relief he'd experienced on the hill and the conversation with Peter wouldn't leave his mind. He realized that the end of November wasn't just the end of a month. It was a cycle in his own life that was coming to an end. Michael opened an old notebook that he used to write down sporadic thoughts. On the blank page, he began to list everything he wanted to leave behind. The words flowed easily, as if he were peeling off layers of armor that no longer fit. Fear of failure, the need to control everything, guilt about not being perfect, anxiety about the future. He paused for a moment, looking at the words. Then he wrote at the bottom of the page, "I choose to trust." The next morning, November 30th, Michael woke up with renewed clarity. He decided to visit the address Peter had given him. When he arrived, he found a small group of people gathered in a welcoming environment, decorated with simplicity. People welcomed him with genuine smiles, as if they had known him for years. During the meeting, each person shared a little about their journey. Michael listened attentively, feeling a connection with each story. When it was his turn to speak, he hesitated, but soon realized that he didn't need to be perfect or have all the answers. "This year has been difficult," he began. "But something changed in me yesterday. I realized that I'm not alone, even when it seems like I am, and I think I'm ready to start again." The words came out more easily than he had expected. As he finished, he felt a wave of relief, as if he had finally let go of the last bit of weight he had been carrying. Chosen one. We have reached the moment when your soul is called upon to reflect and take a significant step on its journey. Just as Michael freed himself from the bonds of the past to embrace a future full of purpose, you too now have the opportunity to end the cycles that no longer serve your journey. November 30th marks more than the end of a month. It symbolizes the closing of a cycle, a portal that invites you to transcend what has been and embrace what will be. It is a divinely orchestrated moment, a whisper from the universe for you to renew your faith, your courage, and your vision. As you reflect on the month that is coming to a close, think about everything you have lived through, every learning and challenge that has shaped who you are today. It's not just about closing a chapter. It's about letting go of burdens that no longer make sense to carry. It's an act of trust in yourself, in the divine plan, and in the journey that is yet to come. I want to ask you to do something powerful and symbolic right now. Comment here on what you want to close in this cycle. Perhaps it's a fear that limits you, a habit that no longer reflects who you are, or even a belief that prevents you from expanding. By writing, you are declaring to yourself, to this community, and to the universe that you are ready for the new. Don't be afraid to put into words what needs to be left behind. Each comment is like a written prayer, a commitment to yourself that you are ready to release and grow. By sharing your intention, you not only take a step towards your transformation, but also inspire others to do the same. Remember that you are not alone on this journey. We are a community of chosen souls, connected by faith and the desire to live with purpose. By sharing your reflections, you not only find support, but also strengthen the connection with those who walk alongside you. Together, we create a space where transformation is possible, where everyone can grow, knowing that they are supported. If you're not already taking part in the chosen 40 Days of Reflection and Hope devotional, this is the perfect time to start. This devotional is a journey that will help you strengthen your faith, find clarity, and dive deeper into your connection with God. Each day is an opportunity to renew your mind and spirit, guided by messages that touch the soul and light the way. May this November 30th mark a great renewal in your life. As this cycle comes to a close, may you feel the weight of what no longer serves you being carried away, and the lightness of a new beginning taking its place. Remember, you are chosen, and there is a greater purpose waiting for you. As we enter the next cycle, may you have the courage to dream bigger, to trust more deeply, and to walk with the certainty that God is guiding your every step. Even in moments of doubt, know that your journey is being carefully planned to take you to your highest destination. Chosen One, subscribe to the channel to continue receiving messages that nourish your soul and strengthen your journey. With every video, with every word, we are together, connected by something greater than ourselves. May God bless you abundantly, and may the next cycle bring light, purpose, and the renewal you so desperately seek. Write in the comments your intentions for this new chapter, and let's together turn what was into a stepping stone to what will be. We are together, Chosen One. You are not alone.